Okay, this is Miss Webb, and this time I want you to be able to write a linear inequality system. And let's get started on this one. Okay, these are the steps. If you have the lines cross the y-axis, let me put that in there. I don't know where I missed that. The y-axis, this is what you can do, okay? In other words, you're going to have a y-intercept. You identify the y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis, or the point where it crosses the y-axis. Identify the slope. Write the equation on the line in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. How do you identify the slope? You count. I'll show you. Okay, then you're going to select a random point in the overlapped shaded area. This is the part that's important. Determine the inequality that will make the original equation true. So put it in there. And are you going to put a less than, greater than? Okay, now if it's dashed, it's just less than or greater than. But if the line is solid, then you're going to change it to greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. Let's give it a try. Okay, so here's my system, and all I did was show you the overlapped area. This is the solution. Now, can you tell me or write the equations for this system of inequalities? So for the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to write the equation of the line. And let's call the dashed line line number 1. So let me get my pen. Let's look at this one right here. That one will be line number 1. Let me get my other pen out. Okay, line number 1. And we're going to say this one is line number 2. Okay, so for line number 1, let's see, it does cross the y-axis, so I'm pretty happy. I'm going to identify where it crosses. And look, it crosses at 0, 0. So it crosses, let me see what I put for step 1. Step 1, identify the y-intercept. Write it in slope-intercept form. Okay, so there's my y-axis. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, 0. Now I need to figure out the slope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the next time I see a point on the line that I can read very easily. I don't know what that point is, but I can tell you what that one is. Now I'm going to count. I go up 1 and I go to the left 2. Up 1 is a positive 1. To the left 2 is a negative 2. That is my slope. Positive 1 over negative 2. So when I want to write the equation of the line, I'm going to say, okay, that's y. And I'm just going to put it as a line. I'm not going to worry about the inequality just yet. And I'm going to put my slope here. Notice I can put the negative up there if I want, or down there, doesn't matter. Because if I started here, don't I go down 1 and to the right 2? Okay. And then notice it's a 0 over here. Okay. Now I need to pick a point, and I need to pick it in the shaded area, and I don't want it on the line. I'm going to pick this point right here. That point right there is the point 0, 2. So it's the point 0, 2. And I'm going to put it into my equation, and I'm going to see what would make it true. I'm going to leave, in other words, I'm not going to get rid of that equal sign. I'm going to put negative 1/2. And for x, I'm going to put a 0 plus 0. For y, I should be putting in a, what's y? 2. 2. Okay? So, and I'm trying to figure out what goes in here. Okay, I know it's not an equal sign because I'm looking at a shaded area. So I'm going to say 2, and I don't know what it is. That's a 0 plus 0. Isn't 2 greater than 0? Yep, 2 is greater than 0. That's the inequality that would make this true. It's not a solid line, so I don't change it. So my line number 1 would be y is greater than negative 1/2 x. And you can put the plus 0 if you want. Let's try the next one. The next one, does it cross? Yes, yay. If it crosses, then I can write it in slope-intercept form. So if it's gonna be in slope-intercept form, I know I have the point 0, -1, and I need to count to figure out the slope. So I'm gonna pick another point on the line. Okay, so if I go up 1, 2, and I go over 2, that would be 2 over 2. I can also simplify that to 1 over 1 or 1. So if I'm going to write just the line, I would say y equals, my slope is 1, and my y-intercept is -1. Okay, now I'm going to pick a point, and guess what? I'm just going to pick the exact same point. And I'm going to put it in here, and I want to figure out what I need to replace that equal sign with. So if I have, let's see, if I use the point 0, 2, because it's in the shaded area, then if I plug it into this guy right there, okay, y is 2 is equal to 1 times x. That would be 0 minus 1. But wait, I'm trying to figure out. It's not an equal sign anymore, it's an inequality, and I'm trying to figure that out. So I'm going to put y is 2, there's y, and I don't know what goes here, is equal to 1 times x is 0 minus 1. So I got a 2, and I don't know what goes here. Okay. And I keep wanting to put that equal sign in there, huh? Okay, but I got a 0 times x. I got a 0. 1 times 0 is 0. 0. I got a minus 1. Isn't 2 greater than? And it's a solid line, so it's got to be greater than or equal to. So I've got y is greater than or equal to 1x minus 1. Okay, let's see the next one, what I did on the next one. Okay, now what happens if it doesn't cross the y-axis, or you can't exactly see where it crosses the y-axis? In that case, you're going to have to use that point slope form. And what you want to do is identify any point on the line, pick it out, select another point on the line, count to determine the slope. Then you're going to write the equation of the line and point slope format, which is y minus whatever you picked here for that point is equal to the slope, whatever you counted out, times x minus whatever you picked that first point to be. Okay, now that's just writing the equation of the line. Then you're going to have to figure out what the inequality is, because we're looking at a region. So again, you're going to select a random point, and you're going to determine the inequality that will make the original equation true. That's what that new software, so we'll see how it goes. Okay, for this one, here is, I didn't shade in the area for this system. I did, and I think it erased it. So let's go pick what we want it to be. How about we say this is the solution right here. Okay. So they give you this graph. You know we're talking about inequalities because it's a shaded region. You have 2 lines, so you know it's a system. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to write the equation of the line. And I'm going to pick this one as my line number 1. and I put a special case in there. It does not cross the y-axis, but I'm not going to go to that point slope. I'm going to go, it's a vertical line. Isn't x always equal to 2 no matter what? X is always equal to 2. It's a special case. The equation of that line is x is always equal to 2. Okay? Now I want to pick a point in the shaded region. Okay? And I'm going to pick this one down here. That looks like a good one. It is negative, nope, it is positive 3, negative 3. Okay? So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say, okay, if x is a positive 3, I'm going to put in a 3 there. There is no y, so I don't have to plug in that negative 3. What would make this true? What if I put a greater than? Isn't 3 greater than 2? Yes. And it's going to be a greater than or equal to because it's a solid line. So my line is x is greater than or equal to 2 for line number 1. Let's look at line number 2. Now line number 2 probably crosses the y-axis somewhere, but I can't really see it. So I'm going to have to use that point slope form. So I'm going to look at this line. I'm going to erase what I had here for line 1 so we don't, but I think I'm going to keep that same point there. I'm going to pick a point on the line. Let's see. I like this one here because I can see it pretty easily. What's another one? I can see this one pretty easily too. That one right there. So I have a point. So I've got a point, which is 3, negative 1. And now I'm going to figure out the slope. Well, if I'm right here, and I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My slope is up 6. Okay, and to the left 2. Negative 2 to the left 2. Now I can reduce that to 3 over 1, but I got to keep the negative sign, or 3 over negative 1 is just negative 3. So I now have my slope and I have a point, and I'm going to do point slope form. So point slope form is y minus, tell me what the y is, it's negative 1. That point is equal to the slope, negative 3, okay, times x minus 3. That is the equation of the line. Okay, now I'm going to simplify it a little bit so it's a little bit easier when I go to check that point. And I'm going to say, okay, well that's y plus 1 is equal to negative 3x. I'm going to distribute the negative 3 plus 9. Okay, now I need to check this guy right here, and I need to make sure that it is going to be true. What inequality can I put in there so that it's true? So if I put in a negative 3 for y, and I want to know what to put in here so that it's true, negative 3 times a positive 3 plus 9. Okay, I got a negative 2, and I don't know what it belongs in here. Negative 9 plus 9, that's a 0. So negative 2, if I want to make it true, and this is a 0, wouldn't you say that would be the inequality to use? It's a dashed line, so I just leave it like that. My line number 2 would be y plus 1 less than negative 3x plus 9. Okay, let's see if I have another example. I don't think I do. Okay. The hard part about graphing or writing the inequalities is you have to be able to know how to determine the equation of the line by either using point slope form or slope intercept form. And then you always pick a point inside the shaded area and you figure out what inequality would make it true. So good luck on your assignments.